Hi everyone, this is Miss Tao. I'm here today to show you some example division problems so that you can better help your child at home as they are learning our fourth grade strategy for division. So I have Miss Patty here today who is videoing this for me as I work out an example problem. Okay, so we're going to start out with 144 divided by 4. This is an example of a division problem that your child will need to know how to work out. So we talk about how our large number, 144, is called our dividend, and our dividend goes inside of our house. And I'm sure that most of you remember setting up a division problem like this. Okay, we are putting our divisor on the outside of our house. So students really pick up on the fact that the dividend goes in the house and the divisor, which has an O in the word, goes outside the house. Okay, and then just something that's a little bit different from the way that we learn division is that we turn what looks like our house into a big 7, like this. And that is basically just a way to help students organize their writing on their paper so that everything doesn't get all jumbled up. And we know that right here we will be doing subtraction, and over here we're going to be showing our work. So when I introduce a problem like this to students, I start out by giving them a real life example of a division problem. So for example, I would tell students that I have 4 painters that come over to my house to paint, and they tell me that it will cost $144 to paint my house. Well, each of those painters is going to have 4 wallets to put their money in. So we start out by drawing 4 wallets or 4 boxes where we can organize the money as we divide it out equally between each painter. Okay, then we have a friendly fact bank, and for the friendly fact bank we just label it FFB so we don't have to write all of that out. And we use money amounts for our friendly fact bank. So for example, we start with a $1 bill because that is the smallest bill that we can actually put into the wallets as we're dividing. So we would start out with a $1 bill. There's also a $2 bill. We can have a $5 bill. We can have a 10, a 20, a 50, and a $100 bill that can go into the wallets as we divide out our money. Okay, so students are really good usually at memorizing these because every time we do a problem like this, these are the same numbers that we use. So we always use a 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, and 100. And you can kind of see the pattern going across, because if students know that 1 times 4 is 4, then they're also going to know that 10 times 4, 1 times 4 is 4. We add our 0. So 10 times 4 is 40. And then again right here, 100 times 4. 1 times 4 equals 4. And we just add those 2 zeros. Okay, again with the 2, when we do 2 times 4, we get 8. And then 20 times 4. 2 times 4 is 8, and we just add a 0. So that is 80. Okay, 5 times 4 equals 20. And 50 times 4 would be 20, add a 0. So we have 200. Okay, so once we have our friendly fact bank.
So you multiply those each by 4, right, which is your divisor. Okay.
So they have to take their friendly fact bank, which are the same numbers every single time we work out a division problem, and we multiply by the divisor and the number of wallets that we have. Okay, so then to divide, we are going to look at our largest money amount. Now, this is important that students understand that only our money amounts can go in our wallets. So I tell them to circle each of these friendly numbers, and we call them friendly numbers because these are numbers that are easy to multiply by, because most students, when they come to 4th grade, fourth graders are expected to know their multiplication facts and have those memorized, but the majority of them do not have them memorized when they come to me, and so it just makes it so much easier using these friendly numbers because, for example, a lot of them do not know that they don't know what 9 times 7 is or 8 times 6. And so those are harder for students to do. For example, with the long division, like a lot of us learned in school, most of them are not going to look at this and realize that 4 will go into 14 3 times, because 4 times 3 is 12. They're not really ready for that yet until they have their multiplication facts memorized. So right now we're using these friendly numbers because they are easy and quick for them to go ahead and solve, and use those to put into the wallets. Okay, so we're going to start out with the largest money amount, which is $100, and I would ask students, can we give each of the painters $100? And they would, of course, tell me that no, we can't do that because that's $400, and I only owe them $144. So I'm not going to overpay and pay $400 when I don't owe that much. So I'm going to mark this out because I don't need that. Then I look at the next largest number, which is 50, and I need to see, can I put 50 in each painter's wallet? Well, again, that is going to be too much because 50 4 times is 200, and I don't owe that much. So I'm going to mark that one out. Okay, can I give each of them $20? Yes, because 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 20 equals 80. 20 times 4 is 80. So once I give away those $80 in total there, I'm going to subtract it from what I owe. Okay, and this is where subtraction is very important. We practice this a lot at the beginning of the year to make sure students know how to borrow and regroup when needed, because if they put that 4 subtract 0 is 4, and some of them might tell me that 4 minus 8 is 4 because they want to flip-flop these numbers, then we're going to end up getting the wrong answer, and it will mess up our whole problem. So we have to make sure our subtraction is correct. So 4 take away 0 is 4. We cannot do 4 take away 8, so we borrow and regroup, and now I have 14 take away 8, which is 6. So I still owe my painters $64. Could I give each of the painters another $20? Well, no, because that is too much. That would be 80, and I only owe 64. But I could give them each $10, because when I give them each $10, 10 4 times is 40, and so I'm going to subtract $40. Okay, so we are left with $24 that I need to pay my painters. So I cannot give them another 10, but I could give them a 5. So I can give them a $5 bill because 5 times 4 is 20. Now, if your child already knows that 4 times 6 equals 24, they could go ahead and put 6 in their wallet and subtract 24. But again, because a lot of them do not know their multiplication facts and they don't have those memorized, that's why we're still using these friendly numbers as needed here. And so we put 5 in each box and subtract 20. And we are left with 4. And so then students usually realize that, oh, well, we would just give them each $1 more. 1 4 times is 4. And so we are left with a remainder of 0. So to find my answer, I just add up how much is in each of these wallets. And we can stack those up and add them if we need to. 20 plus 10 plus 5 plus 1 to get our answer. And we have 36. So each painter is paid $36, so that they get a total of $144, but each one individually divided up gets $36. Okay, now sometimes it's not that simple and we might have a remainder right here. So in that case, just for example, if there was a remainder of $2 left over, we wouldn't just put remainder of 2, or, sometimes, I guess, when we learned it in school, we would try to put a decimal, which with money, that does work, but it doesn't work in every situation, and I'll show you a problem like that in just a minute. But in this case, we would look at how can we divide $2 between these 4 people, and students are really good normally with money because they're familiar with that topic, and so they know that 50 cents and 50 cents equals $1, and 50 cents and 50 cents equals $1. So each painter could get 50 cents. So they would be paid $36.50 each. So in 4th grade, we really focus on what do we do with a remainder when we have one. And we want to see, do we include the remainder? Like in this instance with money, we can have change and make change for the painters. If it was like a food item, say a cake or something like that, and we could divide up the leftover cake by cutting it equally into a fractional part, then we might include it as a fraction. Another problem, such as this one, I wanted to show you one like this just because again in 4th grade we practice learning division the way I just showed you, but on milestones and even on their classroom tests and things, they're really expected to know how to apply that skill to solve word problems, so real life word problems. For example, this says an umbrella manufacturer has 422 umbrellas to pack for shipment. One case will hold 4 umbrellas. How many cases will the company need to ship all of their umbrellas? Okay, so I don't want to take up too much of your time and try to solve this for you. So I went ahead and solved it before this, and the answer would be 105. When we divide, we would get 105 with a remainder of 2 umbrellas. Okay, so this is the correct answer. But in real life, what do we do with the remainder? We're not just going to have 2 remaining umbrellas just sitting there and left over.
Because it says you have to ship all of the umbrellas.
Exactly. And so to ship all of the umbrellas, we are going to need to add one more case for these 2 umbrellas to be shipped also. So in real life, again, in order to ship those 2 umbrellas, we're going to have to add one more and have 106 cases in order to ship all of them. Okay, so that's another example of in real life we have to figure out what do we do with the remainder. If this was a problem where I have 422 Jolly Ranchers and I'm splitting it between 4 people and dividing those equally, and if I have 2 Jolly Ranchers left over, I'm not going to try to take a knife and cut Jolly Ranchers. That's dangerous. And so in that case, I would tell students that we're going to ignore the remainder, and each student that I'm dividing the 422 Jolly Ranchers between, they would get 105 Jolly Ranchers, and we're just going to ignore the remainder. I always tell them Miss Tao can maybe have those too, or save those for later. But in this case, if it said, how many Jolly Ranchers would each student get, to be fair, they would each get 105. Okay, so that is how we teach division in 4th grade. I know it's different than the way we learned it. I've heard from parents that a lot of them say this is just a lot of work that's unnecessary, but honestly, like I said, when students come to me in 4th grade and they don't know their multiplication facts and they don't have those memorized, long division, the way we learned it, is very difficult for them. And so because they can relate to money so well, and because these are friendly numbers that are easy for them to multiply by, this is just so much easier for them to understand. And of course, it takes time. If your child is struggling with this, we are going to practice all year long. Milestones will be in April, and we will be practicing until then with example problems until they get it down. But normally, by February, March, students are able to really quickly draw their wallets, draw their friendly numbers, because they have those memorized, and every problem uses those same numbers, so it makes it quick and easy.
And Miss Tao, this is not just your strategy. This isn't just what you do in your classroom. This is the strategy that's the state of Georgia has said is a
yes. I mean, there are other strategies also for division, but this is one of the most common ways that Georgia teachers will be teaching division, because it's so relatable for students. So if you have any questions, if you want to reach out to me through Dojo, you can send any questions. If you want to come in for a conference where I can go over this with you more, I would be happy to. Just let me know. Thank you.